Welcome back, Power Sisters. It's day 3. We're redefining her success. We're here at the virtual summit with Dr. Anita M. Jackson and her executive team. And I am your co-host, Tina Kapp-Kailea. And today it's all about the voice. I am very honored to have a powerhouse when it comes to expression and voice. Welcome, Chenadra.
Thank you so much, Tina, for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And this voice thing, it is my passion because, I'm a woman who has overcome, believe it or not, being awkwardly shy. Can you think about that? For me, I was awkwardly shy. And to be standing here before you and actually preaching voice, living voice is something that I never even thought that I would do.
Oh, you certainly have a presence on screen. And no, I cannot picture you as being shy. But I think as we have an evolution of voice, as I call it, we could sort of step into a different layer of ourselves, and the voice becomes a bit like a blossom that comes out and gets stronger and more beautiful as we grow in our businesses. When did you first come across a situation where you think, well, I actually have a lot to say, and you felt like, but I need to step out to be able to serve and to help others find their voice and express themselves like they truly mean it?
I'm a corporate girl. So I did, of course, spend 13 years in corporate America and financial services doing a variety of different things. And to be honest with you, it was kind of those things that were not related to the job that was kind of giving me this boost and this pull. I would have people kind of come to the side and say, hey, can you write this email for me? It just sounds better when it comes from you. And I would just write it and go on about my day and just whatever. And then I would have someone say, hey, I feel like I can trust you. Can we have this conversation, or what would you say? So it was these little bitty pieces that it didn't at that time connect that's actually my calling purpose. I just did it because I had so much other stuff kind of in the background. And then all of a sudden, there was this guy, he pulled me aside. He said, things are different when you're here. He's like, when your voice is in the room, it just feels different. People respond different. And I would be sweating bullets saying this stuff, and I would do it, but not really realizing the impact. So when you hear somebody says that it's different when you're there, people are responding, you say, wait a minute, that's something. And this is something that I've toyed with for so long because I'm such a worker bee. So I'm the type of girl that's going to put her head down and you get the job done no matter what. You are a finisher. But what happened in that work ethic was that Chenadra's voice was getting buried. Yeah, you were getting the job done, but you're kind of getting passed over for other things. People are over talking you in meetings. And then I said, wait a minute, it's different when I tell my story. It's different when I use my voice because nobody can tell it like me. It's mine. So when I started to have all these things, I started to emerge as a people leader and a people manager. The voice started to come, and it wasn't loud or boastful. It was just like this. And I would just have these conversations with people, and they would be like, how did you get that out of them? And I started to use my voice as a community builder. I started to use it to massage people and bring them in. And I said, oh, this is your superpower. And if you're not careful, if you don't hone in it and own this, you might very well miss your calling.
That is so nice. You mentioned your calling, and I think obviously calling out what you stand for and calling out what you're drawing towards you and asking for what you want. I think it's a big topic for most women because as we grow up, often the surrounding where we grow up, cultural elements can all be playing a factor of why we're not expressing ourselves. I certainly relate to what you said, being shy. I was in the same position, and I used to get really nervous, even just standing up at school, raising my hand, because we have often this feeling that we're not good enough. We have no place to stand up. And on corporate, we're the ones that tend to pick the chair towards the end of the room, and to be able to go, no, I'm here, I have value, I have a message, I have a voice, to step out and be strong with it is really amazing to witness when you touch others and you radiate an energy that others get drawn to. So I think you're a bit like a light that others get drawn to. When did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to go and turn this into a business and help others?
And I'm very transparent about my journey. When I left corporate America, it was really a toxic time. So in that, I had a little bit of battle and struggle at the end. And this is where this voice really said it's do or die. You're going to say what you have to say for yourself, and you're going to do it unapologetic. You are honest, you are authentic, and that's just it. So when I had to overcome that, and I remember I was having to have some tough conversations toward the end, and I would, I had a girlfriend, a coach at that time, and I was saying, kind of telling her a little bit about what's going on, and she was like, "You're gonna say that?" She's like, "You have to go in there. Are you scared?" I said, "No." I said, "This is actually the calmest I've ever been in my life, and it's so much pressure. People are down my back, defaming my character, but I knew, I in that moment, I said, this is it." So when I left, I didn't immediately know that I was going to build Black Orchids PR. I had a very fortunate time in my life, which many women, many people don't get. I was able to take a year off in between leaving and building this business. And what Chenadra did was what she likes to do most of the time, is research and read. I started going to virtual events, and I would just look at all the women in the room, the entrepreneurs that were there, business women, and I would watch them introduce themselves. And I would be floored, Tina. Floored.
Yeah.
I would watch them, and then as I would watch them, I would hear them tell this powerful story, and I would almost be like, "Oh my gosh, you overcame that, you did all of that, and that's all you had to say about yourself?" Light bulbs went out. I said, this is a big thing. It's bigger than corporations, it's bigger than business owners. This is a woman's thing. And I built a business around that. So it was really this natural thing. So for me, having to be very powerful at a very scary time in my life, to saying, okay, I see this problem and it's happening, and people think that I'm sweeping under the rug. People are praising me for, "You seem so bold. I had to build this code." And the reality that so many women need that exact same help, it was a no-brainer for Black Orchids.
I love it. And where did you come up with the name Black Orchids?
It was a bit of a collaborative effort. I do have a business coach, and we thought about it, and say, like Black Orchids are so rare, you know what I'm saying? And we have to think about this rarity in us. People, we have divine purpose, right? And orchids are pollinating. They pollinate the area, right? I want that internal fragrance of you just to flow. It's rare, and you have to treat that. And that's a part of some of the things we'll get into, is knowing that about you and being confident enough to let that flow.
It really shows that you represent the brand that you embody. You are the extension of your brand, being the person. And I know that is one of your superpowers, to work with people on their branding. How does the voice relate to not just a logo or a name, but to the person behind it?
And let me tell you, in today's time, people want to hear stories. Okay, we're in a very world where everything is so fast. We're just scrolling on social media. People want to go on a journey. Sometimes they want to see themselves in you. And that's what I tell my people. Like, to be honest, Tina, my grandma used to say this all the time: there's nothing new under the sun, right? So there means that there's a lot of people doing the same thing that you're doing. I just want to be honest, okay? And I tell my business owners that all the time. That differentiator is you and your spin. That differentiator is you and your story. Because we could all be doing marketing, but maybe the person, we could be standing here selling the same exact thing, Tina, the person is going to choose. And that story most of the time is what draws them and connects them. Storytelling is so important because you take them on a journey with you. I said, do you realize the power that is? You give somebody an opportunity to see through your lens and meet them where they are through a story. Why not show up and be that for your brand? If you love it and you're passionate about it enough, you're gonna play some scary games with yourself. It's either fear or the story. And for me, every day it's choosing that. It's choosing to show up like this, so that when the woman that hears my voice and knows they need me, it's very clear. They know.
What is some of your very interesting stories on overcoming or being ready to step out with your story? Because there can be a lot of resistance, and we all have this little monkey mind sometimes, where we have a little voice that goes, "Oh, you can't possibly go out there, you can't possibly go and step out of it." How do you coach, or is there any secret that you can say to them? Look, how do I tackle this? How do I overcome the resistance I have to play all out, to put it all on the table, to be seen truly and authentic?
And we'll get into this, but I'm going to always go to that inner voice, and I write about this often, because what we'll do, we will let everybody else's fear and perception, that's one part of it, kind of come in and cloud your mind. But you have to understand that internally, there's this voice that has to be unwavering. Sometimes we are our biggest advocate, but on the other end, we're our own worst critic.
Mhm.
We second guess. We'll put it out there, take it back. We think it has to be perfect. There's this inner calling that has to be crystal clear. I said that's the number one connector to your outer voice. It wasn't that Chenadra overcame being awkwardly shy by, just taking these steps and just going out there without anything. I just told you I took a whole year off, and that's all I worked on, Tina, was this inner thing. Cultivating her, loving her, telling her she's worthy. This story is not only mine, it's the people that I'm supposed to help as well. And how do they know that I'm supposed to help them if they can't hear it from me? So if you know that you are called to help people, it makes you more passionate about coming up, showing up and saying, hey, this is me. I'm not perfect. This is what I've overcome. So that internal voice and their mindset are probably the number one catalyst to an outer voice, being strong and unwavering.
So you really need to take time to be still with yourself and let that inner voice rise, and take time to listen, because I think in this world we are so busy as women, having so many different hats. We're not just in a corporate career. We're mothers, we're sisters, we're wives, all of those different hats. And I love that stillness that you touched on. Is that something you still consciously do every week or every day, that you have time for that, to be in stillness, to listen to that inner voice?
It is a part of my everyday thing, because what you mentioned, Tina, is that multitasking. You and I have some similarities. It's my grandmother, but we just talked about an aging parent, not to get, too personal here, but that's the reality of who we are as women. So because of that competing priority, and I know for a fact that life is still going to happen, I'm not exempt from life. Mm-hmm. None of us are. So having that reality first, it says, Chenadra, okay, what are you going to do to navigate this space a little bit more clear, right? And that's that time to myself. And it's every morning. It's not very long. It's just sitting there. We don't need the TV on. I don't need any radio. It's Chenadra, how do you feel today? If this is not okay, it's okay. We have bad days. But what are you going to do to get yourself back on the track? What are you speaking positive over your business, yourself? Right? This is an everyday thing. And that's what I tell my clients, this is a forever journey. Voice is forever. Because there are going to be times when you necessarily don't want to use your voice. I never lie about this. This is a forever journey. It's not a one-stop shop. We take a class, take a course. Mm-hmm. You got to keep working on it day in, day out. We change as women. So why I tell you it's important that you develop your voice is because life is evolution. 5 years from now, Chenadra may not be running Black Corporate's PR, but guess what has to be intact with whatever I'm doing? Mm-hmm. My voice. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at it bigger than career, bigger than brand. Yes, because life is evolution. You gotta work on this thing day in, day out, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. The voice has to go with you. That's why it's important. It's super important.
You touched on women being always in a position of where they're changing, where we're cycling at the end of the day. We're not somebody who can do the same thing day in, day out. And I think coming to the conclusion is there's so many corporate structures where we not necessarily have the space to unfold in our true potential, because we're up against, there's a pay gap, there's gender gap. But I truly believe if you have a voice, you are more likely to express what you want and go after it with confidence, or even just saying no with conviction. That's a big thing in my book. We're not told to say no because we think we have to be nice and accommodating all the time. So the voice in corporate can close the gap by simply asking. And I know this is one of your big passions, of the power of the ask. How did you develop your power on going after and asking for what you want, asking for what you need without apologizing for it?
Yeah, I mean, and when I say the power of ask, I look at everything holistically. So the first part, like when we talk about the career, there were some things, that I asked about, even when it was scheduled. Hey, I'm having more caregiving responsibilities. I'm a mom, I have all these different things to do. When I even had to say, hey, look, I need to schedule that's a little bit more accommodating so I can figure this out, that type of a thing. But then it even became beyond that, especially when I became a business owner, because it was like, what am I even asking for in my household? And even down to the guys in my household, my husband and my son, it's like, mommy needs 2 hours to record a video. And sometimes it's even hard to have that ask in the household. So when I tell people to think about that, you have to keep laser focus on what you want and figure out how to get there. And the voice and the action is going to be that. So when I thought about that, I had to think about, I literally had to take a page and I said, Chenadra, what are some things right now that you want? And have you asked for them? And if you haven't, what are you going to do to get that? The ask, right? And when I tell people, listen, you may not even know, when I have them go through these exercises, I said, well, who do you think you need to ask to get that done? And women, let me look, we are super, okay? But listen, learn how to ask for some help. It's not bad for you to ask for help. I had to learn it. I'm not telling you anything that I did not have to learn for myself, okay? I'm superwoman. I can take care of it all, okay? But no, I need a little help doing this. I need help toggling this. I need help in form of coaching. Get the help that you need. And that's the power of ask. And I think women sometimes feel that sometimes it's pride. Sometimes it's just they feel like they don't have a support system. There's a number of different things that prevent women from really honing in on that ask. But I'm telling you, once you understand what you really want and that your voice is a barrier to getting that, you'll think about life completely differently.
Okay, I think I want to write that on my mirror, the power of the ask. Are you asking?
Yes.
I think where we also get a little bit trapped sometimes as women is when we see ourselves as powerful women, then often we define power as having to have control all the time and letting down your guard a little bit to go, it's okay to ask for help. And I think we're living in this old paradigm where we feel like if we want to be a business owner or have a senior executive role, we can't show weakness. But asking for help is not a weakness. It is simply asking those around us to come to our aid and really receive, which is part of that redefining of success and power, is being able to receive the help. Because I play a lot with masculine and feminine energy, and being a mother is actually, even though it's a nurturing role, it is highly masculine energy because we're constantly doing, and we're doing a lot. We then do that at work as well, and we leave the woman somewhere along the way without having a web that can support us. So I like that ask, because it's something you have to train and learn.
Absolutely.
We sometimes don't even realize we're doing it. It's in our subconscious point. Is there a formula that you follow? What's if the audience is listening and oh, how do I ask? How do I practice this? Is there something you can give them that they can immediately start doing that will hone that awareness of when they are negating what they really need?
I would say would start top three things you need right now. Is there more time? Which we can't always give, but we can manage it more effectively. What I mean by that? Is it that you even need more energy? Is it that you need more focus? Right. So what do you do? For example, when I was realizing I didn't need more energy, the pandemic, believe it or not, I was really working a lot with researching. And at that time I was transitioning out of corporate America, and I needed more energy, like my mental fitness. It was starting to, a lot of us disintegrate and everything. So I was thinking, I reached out to someone. I said, you know what, I'm going to ask someone that's in this industry. I don't know this person, but I am infatuated with the kind of work that they do. So the first thing was knowing what I needed. That's the formula. Sometimes we don't even know what we need. That's why the stillness is so important. So top three things you want. Figure out is that a want or a need. And when you know that you need it, you find somebody to help you that asks.
Thank you for framing that for the audience. I think that's some tangible ideas on how we get started. And I would like to ask you, how do you express, or how do you define feminine flow for you?
This is a good question. And I'm probably going to have to think about this a little bit more, Tina, when I get off, because it's really good. And I appreciate the question. But for me, being able, I like that you talked about that masculine kind of energy, because I love financial services and I've managed mostly guys throughout my career. It's so funny that when I pitch my services at the end, somebody always asks, "Do you help men?" It always happens, and I'm like, "Well, I help men as well, but I know the need for women." So for me, it was, I don't want to say I had to express masculine power, but I did feel like I kind of had to put the shoulders up, and the whole thing, Tina. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Put the
yeah.
shoulders up and kind of, go with the flow, and not ruffle too many feathers, and not throw this mommy thing around too much, and not throw this caregiver thing around too much. So that feminine flow for me and my business is just saying that, Chenadra, you know what? You're a woman. You have competing priorities. That doesn't mean that that's gonna impact how you run your business. You build a career, and you aced it. You were stellar. So here's the opportunity for you to actually flow in your unique self, not with all this other energy. Just flow in your unique self and still be a rock star. I don't have to have all these other personas of going into other rooms and trying to change the vernacular, or it's and you said mask. I teach with this all the time. Let me show you guys this real quick. I love that I'm prepared. Look at this.
Oh, nice.
I teach with this. I mean, excuse me, it's kind of blurred into my background, but I teach with this all the time. So my feminine power says, Chenadra, you don't wear a mask anymore.
That is powerful.
That's what my feminine power says. That this mask that I teach my students with all the time, I tell them that's what I used to wear. And I sound different. I sound clear because I'm not muzzled by this. When you have on a mask.
That is powerful. Odie, did you hear that? We're no longer wearing a mask and you're not muzzled. That is powerful. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a mask on, it's like, ooh, your voice is muzzled. I said, I've removed all of this stuff. It's gone. That didn't strip away my work ethic. That didn't strip away the fact that I want to help people. And now you hear that clear because that stuff is gone.
Wow.
It's gone.
I think if you see the mask like that with the different elements on there, it's kind of like, oh, hang on a minute. Yes, I face fear. Oh, am I completely truly, am I in my power? That where you go, wow, that woman right there, whatever she's got, I want me some of that. And exactly. I think this is where you have that energy when you jump off the screen, you go, I'm gonna lean in closer. That right there, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
So you certainly are the embodiment of a powerful voice, and I can't wait to see other women really dive into that topic, because the voice is so misused and misunderstood.
It is. I love what you said, misunderstood, because you said louder boast. When I said it's the first thing, move away from that. It's not loud or boastful. And most people don't even realize this about me, is that when I do lots of interviews and stuff, when I'm done, Chenadra is the biggest introvert ever. Biggest introvert ever. After I finish the interview, I go back into my shell for 2-3 days. I will read a book. I will write I don't thrive very well with a lot of energy of other people, because I'm very energy centered and I like to protect mine. So I know that my calling says I have to help people. So that's some of the things that I have to overcome. I have to go in and facilitate and be an advocate for my brand and show up, because that's what I'm called to do. But the core of me, I could go days. I mean, the pandemic wasn't a really big deal for me.
I think it was either one or the other extreme. You either enjoyed it because you're like, oh, all this time, yes, and I don't have to be available all the time. And then those who are social butterflies who would have suffered through it. But you touched on something really important, that when you exuded all those energy, you've given a lot, you stop, you honor that, and you're calling your power back, you're filling your cup again. And I think this is a great takeaway for the audience to go, okay, not only do I need to work on my voice, but I need to have my inner landscape. You certainly have given us a great overview of how to step into your voice and what that means. And in terms of power, what does power, the first thing that pops into your head when I say, well, what's power? What is the first thing that pops into your head?
Yeah, and for me, it's influence. And I mean positive influence. Okay. I don't mean like, step in and, let's stand fair. no, Chenadra wants you to feel like when you see me, you say, I can do that too.
Mm.
That's power, right? Because it makes my journey not only connected to me, but who I serve. So when women, I literally have women, oh my gosh, they come up and I said, stop the fanfare. I stopped them at the track cleaner. I said, stop the fanfare. I said, when are you going to do it? And I always say, you're next. I kind of nudge him on a little bit.
You said fanfare. I think that might have been a little bit of an uncomfortable. That, oh, am I supposed to toot my own horn? It's like, for me, it's the phrase around, oh, are you being a bit full of yourself because you're so confident when you're on camera? And I go, oh, that's an interesting choice of words. Full of yourself. It's that I am full of myself, but not in a negative
Cool
way. So we are perfectly fine to celebrate who we are. Celebrate wins. It's something that the men in the office do a lot all the time. What's your take on being full of yourself?
Well, thank you. Okay. If you tell Chenadra that she's full of herself, why thank you? Okay. Because I worked a long time to get this full. I worked a long time to pour into myself. I worked a long time to build up these accolades and accomplishments. Can I get any fuller? Can I have more capacity? Sometimes you have to play the game with people to put them a little bit back in their place, because until they can understand that, I said, you know what? I want to be so full that I overflow. And the people that I serve, they get the overflow. Chenadra stays full because I'm not pouring from an empty cup anymore. I don't pour from empty cups. I keep my mind, body fulfilled, so that what comes over, what you get, Tina, and everybody else, that's the overflow from Chenadra, and that's a very great place to be. So you tell them that, and you tell them that with conviction, and I guarantee they'll back up. Okay, and there doesn't even have to be, loud or boastful. And another thing that you talked about is that how men, like I said, I used to manage mostly men, and I share this story often. I said, there was a performance review, and I had this superstar woman, and when I read a review, it was great. But it wasn't the superwoman that I knew. That wasn't her. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, girl, you are a mate. Like, I would always tell, like, kudos. But when I read it, I said, this is, like I said, my Black Orphans was actually building back in the corporate world. I didn't know it, right? But I would tell her, no, you're going to say this, and this is how you're going to say it. You're going to revise this right now. And she would go revise it and come back.
That's power in action, and encouraging others to, you can step it. You're selling yourself short, girlfriend. You got to have to step out and own it all and be full of yourself.
Be full of yourself, because, I couldn't tell her this. I said, but, there's a guy who, he is not up to par. Okay. Definitely needs improvement, but his review, Tina, it was stellar. Okay.
10-story building.
I just, oh my gosh, I could not believe. I was like, I can't believe what I'm reading. Men, in my opinion, and in what I've seen from men, I've conducted probably hundreds of interviews. Okay, managed large teams, men of all ages, even the little babies that come out of college. Okay, because my last set were most of they were younger guys that were fresh out of college, kind of moving into financial services. Even from that age, all the way up to the oldest, pure embellishment on a lot of different things. And I did not see that from women when they were kicking butt behind the scenes. And that's just the reality, because I am transparent about it enough to say these women are keeping this stuff together in the background. They are taking time away from their children in the background to make sure that nothing falls from the cracks. And those stories are just not told at all.
Oh, amen to that. I think anyone who's listening has just got tingles, because I certainly because you're so refreshing. You're honestly calling it. And I think the audience will absolutely love that takeaway, that are you actually selling yourself short? And why is that? Why are we not stepping out? So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and for sharing your wisdom around your voice. You certainly have, I get energy bubbles coming at me just being in the interview with you. So thank you for giving your joy and your light to this group. I hope you had some really amazing nuggets from this interview. Please check out the group, go and interact with us in there. We're going to be in there in various shapes and forms and at different times. And if you like to go and become a Power Sister VIP, go and click the link below and you get yourself a VIP ticket. You're going to be having access to not only these interviews, but you're going to have all the training, and it's going to really set you up to look at all areas of your life and see whether there is parts that you have let slip a little bit, because we certainly have a team of speakers here that will raise you to the next level. So thank you so much. Thank you, Chenadra, for your time. And I can't wait to hear your comments. Thank you.